Alright, let's do a small birth chart reading using Sidereal Astrology for a celebrity, and I'm going to choose the Undertaker, the WWE Hall of Famer, one of the most iconic wrestlers of all time. And even though we don't have the birth time, we have the birthday and the location, so we can still extract some data from that. We won't get the full picture, but it will be good enough. Let's see what the stars say about the dead man walking. So, I will check out the placement of planets in signs. Um, I will also check some aspects. He doesn't have that many aspects between the major planets. And so we are going to start with Sun placed in Pisces. So let's see what we got here. You know that Pisces is a water sign associated with psychic stuff. So this placement basically gives success in occupations that are removed from the public eye, such as prisons or hospitals and all that stuff. That's not what he did. It's the opposite actually. Uh, but now I don't know. Maybe he has some other occupations that may be hidden from the public eye. Of course, free will is the thing that overrides everything, so he chose something different. It could be that maybe he chose something hidden from the public eye before his resting days. But yeah, of course, he isn't known for being hidden. Uh, it also indicates here from this placement that if he pisses off the wrong people, others may seek revenge and hurt his reputation. In the wrestling world, that was a common thing back then. I don't know if he suffered that fate or not, but that if he did, it's written here in the stars. And Sun in Pisces, because Pisces is a watery sign associated with psychic stuff. Uh, this placement gives tendency towards occult stuff, and his gimmick as the Undertaker is quite occultish. So yeah, I guess it fits like a glove. So regarding Sun aspects, we got Sun conjunction Venus. Maybe I should explain what each planet means. Sun is the conscious side, the male side, what you show to the world. So Venus is the planet of love, of art, of beauty, and the Sun can only form conjunctions with Venus. And conjunction is basically there are five types of main aspects between planets. There are the trine and sextile. Being the trine, it's like it's as if the planets were best friends with each other. Sextile, they are good friends, but not as good as the trine. There's the conjunction, which can go either way. It depends on the planets and other stuff in the chart. And then there's the square, which is the opposite of the trine. It's like mortal enemies. And then there's the opposition, which is uh, some bitterness there. You can call it that way, but not as bad as the square. So we got the conjunction between Sun and Venus, and that brings out an artistic side of the nature of the person, making the person enjoy things like music, art, and if you think about it, the Undertaker is quite the metalhead. So regarding music, yeah, it makes him a loving person. Uh, I saw that he was married 3 times, so I guess many women experienced this love. Uh, it's an aspect that strengthens his constitution. He's quite strong, so yeah, makes him popular. Yeah, he is. and makes him a likable person. So it's a good aspect. And next we got a challenging aspect, which is Sun square the Moon. The Moon, and I'll call the Moon as a planet here for the context of astrology, and the Sun as well. Obviously, they aren't planets, but they will be here. So uh, usually this aspect relates to divorces. Uh, I don't think I mentioned earlier, but the sun can also represent the mother side, and no, I mean the sun can represent the father side. The moon is the mother side, uh, and being the moon, the mother side, it also represents the female side, the subconscious, and the emotions. And it's interesting. I saw when finding out Undertaker's birth date, the birth date, basically. I saw that he was married 3 times, as I mentioned, and I think it relates a lot to this aspect because there's some sort of opposing forces between the male side and the female side. Uh, it creates a struggle between uh, having harmony between male and woman, male and female. So it makes sense with this aspect that uh, you'll have divorces and all that stuff. Usually, I've seen many people with this aspect who have divorced parents. I don't think his parents were divorced, but maybe they weren't in sync when the Undertaker was born. Maybe there was some sort of resentment or all that stuff between them, and he caught up those feelings and got this aspect. Some struggle between the female side and the male side, and this aspect makes a person vacillating and unsettled, with a tendency to change his course in life. Uh, it's also interesting that I saw his parents had different professions, so that could be maybe they were pulling towards different directions, making even though they may support them, but maybe they supported him in different ways. So maybe he felt this way in an early stage in life. Uh, it also, yeah, it also refers here with this aspect that people tend to be a failure with women, and people in higher social scales too. I don't think the Undertaker was uh, a guy with authority struggles. Uh, if he did, maybe it was very early in his career. Maybe he nerfed himself in a way to avoid this. I don't know. We'll see if the chart says something about this down the line. But yeah, it's clear that this aspect affects his romantic relationships here. Uh, it also refers that this aspect causes struggles regarding employment when it comes to keeping it. But yeah, he was a WWE lifer, so maybe that was early in life that happened, and maybe the lessons this aspect would bring him uh, were learned early in life, and he dodged the bullet. Of course, he didn't dodge all of them because when it comes to relationships, it's clear that there was some dark side to it. Else, there will not be so many divorces. He got free marriage, so yeah. When it comes to health, and for the record, let's see if I don't say this the other way around. Uh, in a female's chart, uh, the moon affects health and the sun affects marriage. And in a male's chart, the sun affects health and the moon affects marriage. Yeah. Uh, so yeah, this aspect makes the Undertaker liable to colds and making recovery slow when he's sick. So unless other aspects say otherwise, this can be quite a trouble. So next we'll see another couple, another. Up next we'll see another two moon aspects. Uh, we have Moon square Venus, which is, excuse me, which is a great indicator of marriage trouble for a man. So yeah, you can see again the pattern repeating itself. Another aspect that states marriage trouble. Uh, in here, it states that it's likely that it will be the wife's fault in the sense that it will be her having bad habits which may ruin happiness, which is interesting. It can be perhaps, obviously, I don't know if that was the case in his situation, uh, but maybe there could be a lesson regarding himself having bad habits and having that mirrored to him so that he would learn to not have them. And if you think about it, back then a wrestler would tend to use drugs and all that stuff, painkillers, and I don't know if it was the case for him, but if it was, it could be an outlet so that he could avoid those things. I don't know that much of his backstory, but it's an interesting scenario to think about because it makes sense for a wrestler. Uh, it's also an aspect that gives a tendency for public scandals, uh, because there's a tendency to eh, to enjoy to like a woman and then like the next one and all that stuff. So yeah, it's a trouble. And next we got, which is the only trine the Undertaker has regarding main aspects. Actually, it is the only. It doesn't even have sextiles. He has squares, oppositions, and conjunctions. It's a really challenging chart for him. So we got the trine here, Moon trine Mercury. It can be a very foundational aspect for him. Um, Mercury. Oh, by the way, Mercury is a planet that relates to the mind and speech, and it's really cool because uh, basically when you have the planet of emotions uh, in such good relationship with the planet of speech and mind, basically in a wrestler's case you can be a good promo, you can speak from the heart and be very captivating when you talk. So I guess this aspect was really key for his success in pro wrestling, and that's cool. That's very cool. What else does this indicate? Yeah, a very receptive mind and retentive memory. Very good to memorize matches. This indicates great success in life, especially in fields related to Mercury, such as traveling, literature, and of course, as a wrestler, he travels a lot. So yeah, it's it's something that seems accurate. Uh, it says here that the person is very talkative, even though his gimmick isn't a very talkative one. He now has a podcast, so he can surely use his voice a lot. Uh, yeah, and it seems that this aspect gives him the ability to see the bright side of life, and in such a challenging chart as the Undertaker's. Um, yeah, that's very important because this indicates lots of hard times to him, and seeing the bright side of life helps him uplift himself and get ready for the next battle. And yeah, this aspect refers here again how traveling is good for him. So yeah, all the tours he did as a wrestler were good. What do you got next? We can see Venus in Pisces, which is actually we have Mercury in Pisces, Venus in Pisces, Sun in Pisces. There's lots of fish in here. uh, let's see what Mercury in Pisces means. I didn't see that. I should have seen that earlier. Uh, but it's surely an interesting one to watch. Okay, very cool. It states that uh, it makes psychic abilities related to the mind. It's like the ability to imagine uh, or sense certain things are in a certain way, and he ends up being correct. Hmm, very interesting. It's like some prophetic ability without being prophetic. It's like an inner knowing, not as much as an intuition. Like that hunch that things will be all right or not. Okay. It also indicates that a person with Mercury in Pisces are kind people, and it's an indicator that he could have success in fields such as chemistry or dietitian. I don't think that the Undertaker does that. I don't know who cooks in his house, but maybe he does. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. It's an ability or a set of abilities he could develop, and that's cool. That's cool. Let's see Venus in Pisces to see what does this do. Lots of fish, as I said earlier. Pisces, of course, the sign, watery sign, relates to the fish. I don't think Pisces is a word that makes you think about fish. In my language, it's similar to the word fish, Pisces, but not in English. Okay, this is interesting. Uh, this is a position where he basically has a deep emotional side, but at the same time, it's something that is toned down because there is a tendency for sorrow. Uh, Maybe it relates to all to the failed marriages he had. Again, I don't know I don't know who broke up with who, but according to what I'm seeing, it's probably that it was the woman who broke up with him, but I don't know. Uh, so yeah, there's also a tendency to assist those who have uh, who tend to be abandoned too, or who are physically ill. There's like an empathy side of him. Uh, it also says here that there's uh, an intense love for music. I don't know if he sings, but maybe he could be a good singer. He does have a really metalhead voice, um, and because there's such an emphasis of being expressive from his emotions, maybe it could be those types of people who make great songs based on his love failures. So I don't know. um, yeah, it refers again that there's a tendency to have bad marriages. So yeah, again, that there's a strong pattern in here, and it's not a very good one. All right, let's check out Mars now. Mars is the planet of the samurais because it's a planet related to intensity, to the fighting spirit, and it's really fiery. And he has Mars in Leo, and that's a really fiery placement because the sun rules Leo, and it's all fire, fire, fire. Uh, Displacement behaves depending on the aspects Mars has with other planets. Uh, so he has two conjunctions and one opposition. Uh, I don't think that's kind of afflicted. Uh, and with that, we can read this as such. So because Mars is afflicted, it gives a tendency for having a bad temper and a tendency to have inflammatory problems and palpitations and all that stuff. So I don't know if he had any heart problems, which is a common thing for older wrestlers. Uh, but yeah, his temper, it may depend on a lot of factors, but here in Mars, unless there is a break somewhere in the chart. Although some previous aspects would state that he can be a kind of guy, maybe that they can be like a break, but at the same time, maybe that's his default mode, and when things go wrong, he gets really mad. Uh, Again, there's a tendency for having marriage problems, uh, which is something we already talked about. That pattern is way too clear now. um, and then there's a tendency for him to be fearless, to do stunts, like to do crazy stuff, as a wrestler would do. Uh, and because of this aspect, there's a tendency for things to go wrong more than if he didn't have this aspect. Uh, and this aspect also can make uh, a tendency to be reckless. I still remember WrestleMania, like what, 25 with Shawn Michaels, where the Undertaker did a top rope dive and he landed badly on the cameraman. The cameraman didn't catch him and he almost broke his neck. That was nasty, and this aspect gives me vibes of those things. Next, let's check out some aspects between Mars and other planets. So we got to start Mars in opposition with Saturn. Being Saturn a nasty planet, it relates to obstructions, delays, to honor. When it comes to the physical body, it relates to the bones, to teeth, to hard things. Uh, and when I say hard, it also relates to life itself, hardships. So it's like trial by fire, but it's like Saturn's thing, like a harsh teacher. You can look at it that way. And Mars opposition Saturn can give a selfish and harsh nature with a bad temper again, uh, with a tendency to have a bad public reputation. Can also give a tendency for accidents, which is a nasty thing. So basically, what I get is if he's in a bad mood all the time, or in sometimes, there's a tendency for him to be more reckless and to be more impulsive, and for bad things to happen to him because of all that bad temperament. Um, and it's like it's basically a vicious way to have a break, to slow down, to cool off your mind. Bad things happen, and if you don't have a break, this aspect will break you. Maybe literally, not a very good thing, but yeah. So that's it for this aspect. Uh, Next, we got Mars conjunction Uranus. Uranus, the planet of future, of electricity, of gotta go fast, of the innovations, technology, uh, and being Uranus a planet related to the nervous system, and Mars also a very fiery planet. It seems to be a really combustible mix. And yeah, it's another aspect that gives a bad temper. Uh, it's also an aspect that doesn't enjoy any restrictions of sort. Uranus is a very free planet. Uh, some people can express that in a bad way. May not like any constraints at all. If you have bad Uranus aspects, uh, gives a tendency to be stubborn. It, yeah, stubbornness can be a bad thing here. Can give a tendency for anarchy. Yeah, can make a person very cold. And again, that's a really bad thing for marriage because in marriages you need love. Otherwise, don't marry. That's my take on that. Uh, what else we got here? Let me see the signs again. Mars in Leo, Saturn Aquarius. Okay, no, not Saturn. Uranus. Yeah, Uranus is in Leo. Let's see if I can check out something about that. No, he talked about how things would be if they were in Taurus, Scorpio, but not in Leo. Uh, yeah. Okay. Whatever. Let's continue. Actually, because this aspect relates to or rather, because this aspect can be shaped depending on the signs each planet is in, and Leo being more expressive and more um, a planet where you can see when others can see you more because of the ruler being the sun. So I think that this is an aspect that can be translated into wrestling, where he can show his vicious side when wrestling. Like he's a cold-blooded striker, and being that this aspect makes him a cold-blooded man, he can express that here. And if you think about it, wrestling is a good antidote for these nasty aspects because it's a way for people to express themselves, to unleash their inner fire, their own anger on others, and yeah, it's an antidote. Maybe wrestling saved him and made him a better man. Of course, you can use your profession and your life experiences in in your own way, but they are you can learn with them or you cannot. But in this case, I think it was probably the most perfect thing he could have done for himself based on this chart. It made them a cooler man because he had an outlet to express all these things, and it did well for him. So we got Mars conjunction Pluto, and Pluto is the planet of shadows, the one that's the most hidden in the solar system. It relates to the theme of phoenix rising above the ashes. It relates to transformation, to darkness, of course, and this is quite an interesting combination. So basically, uh, it can help you be resilient, especially going through tough times. Uh, at the same time, if it is misused, maybe when there's a setback, uh, maybe there will be a tendency for an anger snowball effect. Can be bad. Um, what else can I say here? It can depend on how it's expressed, uh, because you can when there's a setback, you can use the fire within you to destroy or to rebuild, and considering it's a conjunction and it isn't clearly an opposition or a sextile or something else. Um, it may also depend on the other aspects, on how they are expressed. All those forces together, it can make it or break it, either himself or others. So it can be a tricky balance. If he learn, maybe uh, as he matures, this conjunction will be better, will be more used more constructively. But as a younger person, it might be used more destructively and generate even more destructive situations, and that can be a catalyst for growth and to turn down all that destruction. And up next, what we got Jupiter. We can see Jupiter in Taurus. His north node is in Taurus. Oh, by the way, I haven't been talking about this, but he also has many retrograde planets. He has Mars retrograde, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So retrogrades are basically related to life lessons he needs to learn, and it's clear that he has lots of them to learn, more related to the latter planets in the zodiac sign, zodiac wheel, and also Mars. Again, his temper. uh, and let's see what we got when it comes to Jupiter in Taurus. Uh, Jupiter is a planet that relates to life philosophy, that relates to expansion, and it's a good planet by itself. I really like the whole lore about that. Uh, and being Taurus, a sign related to stability, to grounding, hmm, it kind of ties in the story that it can't, for at least in the when it comes to love, the tendency to jump from flower to flower, from woman to woman, or at least when it comes to his enjoyment. Uh, Maybe it's a calling for him to expand and stay steady in one thing, and that's what he did in wrestling. He stayed in one single thing in WWE for so many years, and he got big success. He became a Hall of Famer, a legendary career, no other like him. So yeah, uh, but let's see what does this do. It's a placement that relates to whether it's well aspected or not. Jupiter isn't well aspected. It has an opposition to Neptune, which we'll see next. Uh, so, what does this do as a bad aspected planet? Planet. uh, okay, there's a tendency for him to spend money for show. Uh, I know he likes those Harley Davidson motorcycles, so I guess that's his thing. That's why he expresses this. uh, it says he likes food a lot. Uh, it says here he experiences people with this placement often experience financial difficulties. Maybe that will happen earlier in life. I'm unsure. I don't think he has financial issues now. Uh, and it says that there might be a tendency for him to feel sick because of indulging too much on food. Okay, that can be a way to get sick. I don't know anything about that in regards to the Undertaker. So yeah. Uh, but up next, what we got is the opposition between Jupiter and Neptune. Okay, yeah, that adds a lot to the story. uh, Neptune is a planet of spirituality, of the unseen realms. Uh, so this opposition indicates lack of control of the emotions. So yeah, emotional expansion gone wrong, like a balloon bursting, and it adds to the story we have seen. Uh, it also gives them the tendency to be subject to low psychic influences. maybe when he's in a angry state, there's a tendency for him to get into subtle intuitions from bad uh, spirits or whatever you want to call it, which make the situation even worse. Um, in extreme situations, it may even cause involuntary mediumship. Uh, there are some rare cases all over the world where this happens. For example, when people get drunk, some people do bad things, and then they wake up that they don't remember anything. Actually, I don't think some people don't even need to drink to enter that state. Uh, it's just losing all types of boundaries possible, and if you don't control yourself, others will, even if it's others in a less physical sense of the word. So where else? There's a tendency for losses regarding large companies. I don't think that happened, uh, but yeah, that's those are the indications given by this aspect. And up next we got Saturn, more Saturn aspects and placements. We are almost finishing up with the aspects, but first we gotta check out Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn in Aquarius. Let's see what does this do. So Aquarius is a planet, sign ruled by Uranus, the planet of the future, and that's cool. So let's see what is going on. Okay, that's a very interesting placement. So Saturn in Aquarius, uh, it it depends on whether the planet is well aspected or not. It isn't. Spoiler alert. Uh, so what does this do? Basically, there's a tendency to gain other people's confidence and friendship to get some sort of personal advantage. Uh, which in wrestling business there might be a tendency for that to happen. Uh, so yeah, that's somewhat of a selfish thing. Uh, and the fact is, he did climb to the top. Um, and in regards to health, uh, this gives tendency for heart problems and varicose veins. There are two things I want to add to this. So heart trouble, considering the profession he has, or he had, doesn't have anymore. Uh, there are, especially if he did those painkillers and all that stuff, they may contribute to this, and all those heartbreaks during marriage, of course, they also contribute to this because it's heartbreak. It breaks your heart. Emotions, uh, they all relate to the heart, so not all of them. Anger relates to liver, for example, but you get what I mean. Love, the love bond you had was broken. Love is from the heart, so you get the point. Yeah, and the varicose veins. Yeah, get more sunlight. Sunlight helps counter this. Even in myself, I noticed that the places in my body where you can see more veins, let's call it that way. Even though I am skinny overall, you can see my veins more easily. But uh, yeah, people don't get sunlight in certain spots. Uh, you tend to have this problem. So yeah, sunlight is an antidote for this. I don't know if he has this or not, but you get the clue that it might happen. And at the same time, it's interesting because uh, it was said that, like, even his whole gimmick as the Undertaker, the Dead Man, Dead Men don't get sunlight. That people are frozen, are in the sense that their life is cold dead. So the opposite of that is sunlight. So sunlight can bring life to what's dead. It's like the seasons where when the spring comes and the sunlight gets stronger, things bloom again. So yeah, it's interesting to see that correlation between all those things, as above so below. Really cool. But now let's see the next aspect. We got Sun opposition Uranus. It shall be really combustible, or rather an electrifying aspect, because Uranus is the planet of electricity. What we got? Here we go. So yeah, again, bad temper. uh, and again, Uranus can is a planet of fast moving things, so it may turn angry very suddenly and exhaust the person out of energies a lot because of that. It's like, uh, well, lightning. It's a really powerful stream of energy striking something, so lots of energy being channeled towards one direction. It's intense, and it makes sense that the person will be exhausted after that. Uh, there's a tendency for these people to be very eccentric and to see things in a unique way. That's the Iranian way. uh, there might be a tendency to be indolent. It indicates chronic or incurable diseases. Interesting. I don't know if he has any, but it's an interesting thing to know. And yeah, that's it for this aspect. Not very cool. Like, I I don't, I don't truly believe in chronic or incurable diseases. Like, they all indicate something that needs healing. Uh, Usually, people treat the symptoms when perhaps you need to treat something deeper than that, or even something that you don't even know you have, but you do. Uh, it's not linear, but it's something that requires higher level of effort and changes to make things happen. So yeah, that's what I have to say about this one. And next, we can see the placements of Uranus and Neptune. We got Uranus in Leo. Let's see what does this do. We already have seen something else in Leo, which was Mars. So because Leo is a sign that's often related to expression, uh, maybe it relates to expressing your futuristic self, showing things others haven't seen before. And as the Undertaker, we haven't seen, or at least back then, we hadn't seen anything like him before. Um, yeah, again, it refers that there's an unlikableness, or expressing that this in different words. He doesn't like restraints. Uh, what he likes and doesn't like, he strongly likes something and strongly dislikes something. A tendency to rebellion and to disregard conventions, strong personality, strong assertion. Again, refers the tendency to swap love too often. Of course, this leads to or can lead to multiple marriages. What else? And yeah, that's it. Adding more to the story. And next we got Neptune in Libra. I'll remind you that these two planets are retrograde, so there are lessons to be learned a lot. This is the only planet that's in Libra. Let's see how much balanced Neptune is in here. I must remind you that Neptune is a planet of spirituality and the unseen realms of life. Here we go. So it depends on the aspects. Neptune isn't aspect it doesn't have any good aspects with anything, so we got that. Again, it hits the same things again, over and over and over. Uh, yeah, there's a tendency for uh, clandestine love affairs, either by him or the marriage partner. So someone probably cheated on someone. Uh, Indicates a weak emotional nature. Of course, if you have a bad temper, you need healing. Okay, there's something that came to mind. So earlier there was the indication that there could be some sort of health problems related to food, and earlier I also mentioned that anger gets stored in the liver, relates to the liver. I said related to the liver, but of course it is related to the liver. But in Ayurveda or Chinese medicine, uh, it's said that emotions are stored in certain organs, and anger is stored in liver. So I believe that uh, because of all the tendency for anger, all that stored anger, it's hard to digest food properly. Food tends to turn into poison if you are angry, if you have anger stored in you. So I believe that the damage that was mentioned when it comes to health about foods, about overindulging foods, it might be liver damage. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Uh, so yeah, again, wrestling can be a good antidote to anger. Of course, it would be preferable to deal with the emotion directly, but expressing it is good. Is good. Kicking some boxing bag or some opponent. That's a way to heal all those things. I let some of it go, even if it's just a little bit of the anger, not all of it. Allowing that pressure to go is important. And next, we go to more Pluto. So Pluto in Leo is a really interesting placement because Leo is ruled by the Sun, and we all know that Pluto is a really dark planet. Uh, and if you think about it, being that Sun is about how you show up to the world, and Leo is a sign that relates to expression and to show something, I think this really ties to the Undertaker himself because he's expressing his darkness for everyone to see. And I think from the whole chart, this is the key placement that shows exactly that. The Undertaker, the dead man. It's really cool. Uh, and this placement is also very empowering for celebrities. Uh, can give some sort of authority in what they do. Uh, it's a placement that brings out creativity and authenticity. And now, speaking of creativity, The Undertaker is now in the creative team of AAA, so he's doing a good job booking all those luchadores, and this placement really helps with that. So yeah, it's a really cool placement, and it's a game changer. Really, I like this. Uh, it can also be a very uplifting placement, and it's a placement that helps bring the best out of everyone, bring their most authentic selves to the table. And again, that's what he has been doing in AAA, especially with the storyline of the El Grande Americanos that concluded in that mask versus mask match, one of the most legendary matches in pro wrestling history. Not even kidding. And what we got next? We are almost in the end. Up next, we got so Saturn opposition Pluto. This is an indicator that the person, Undertaker in this case, has a connection to the darker side of life, which means that probably there were some strong hardships when growing up, and these are two combustible planets that are very complicated, and the fact that they are in in a poor relationship with one another is a strong indicator of that. Uh, this may generate distrust, um, and considering that there's a story about failed marriages and the indication that might have been some betrayals in marriage, there's an increased likelihood that at least at some point, he may have trusted less the future partners. Or it can happen the other way around, or he can try to trust another one again because it's like a coping mechanism of some sort. Maybe someone betrayed him and he tried to trust someone else to compensate for that betrayal. But having trust from a pure standpoint instead of a trauma based standpoint is better. At the same time, there are lots of people who do trauma bonding, and that can work if they work with that common trauma together. That's two birds with one stone, building a bond and releasing heaviness. Uh, there might be a tendency to be paranoid and think that someone is out there to get you. Those traumas may cause that perception. And at the same time, because of all of this, there might be a tendency to trust people more deeply because you know what's like to have distrust, to be betrayed. So those bonds, you know that you you can trust them, then you trust them even more because you experience the opposite and you know you can trust that person. So that's likely that's the experience the Undertaker had. There might be a tendency for control to be too controlling and generate arguments. Again, might relate to bad temper. And yeah, basically, working on relationships is the best thing to do with this aspect. And it suits the story we have been seeing. And now we go to the final aspect here. We got Uranus conjunct Pluto. So we got the planet of the future and the planet of death and rebirth, of the darkness. Because it's a conjunction, there could be a tendency to go either way. We see that depending on the on other aspect. I mean that's more in placements, in other placements, but in conjunctions it may happen that other aspects make this conjunction go better or worse. but in here uh, there can be a tendency to feel like it's somewhat the same as before. Someone trying to get you, to control you, to restrain you, either like society and all that stuff. There's always something not doing favors for you. And if you think about it, the whole Undertaker gimmick, being a dead man, you can control the dead. The dead are dead; they aren't alive. So it's an interesting thing to think about. Uh, it's like escaping to a place where others can't hurt you because you can't hurt a dead person. In theory, who knows what's going on in the underworld? But you get the point. So there's a tendency for rebellion, for freedom, and there is a tendency for being misunderstood because Uranus is the planet of the future. So being Pluto the planet of transformation, of death and rebirth, of setbacks, it is it makes sense that it will happen. Say something and others not perceiving it the proper way. Although this is a bigger tendency in other placements and aspects of the chart. Not in this one. I haven't seen many indicating this. Or so, but this one it kind of shows this. At the same time, the Undertaker is a very creative person, so he can have his way and present things in a way others can enjoy. This aspect can also be good after being healed. Can be good for politics, psychology, and I know the Undertaker has expressed his political standpoint. Uh, and interesting enough, we got Kane in politics. So who knows if the Undertaker will join him at some point? The Brothers of Destruction. Uh, yeah, basically that's it for this aspect. And now we're gonna end this chart reading by checking out the North Node in Taurus. So we see there's lots of instability in the chart. We got instability in marriage, instability in the emotions, instability in when it comes to a job, to profession. Although, of course, in the end, that did work out just fine for him. And I'd say that in marriage too. He's with Michelle McCool, so I think they get along. Who knows what the future will hold, but so far so good. But he did have some hard times when it comes to marriage. And being Taurus, a sign related to stability, basically that's what he needs to learn, stability. We don't know the house of this uh, where the North Node is placed. We don't know the birth time of the Undertaker, but we know the sign where the North Node is. Oh, by the way, I didn't explain what the North Node is. Basically, we have the South Node, which is the comfort zone of the soul, and the North Node is the growth zone of the soul. It's the uncomfort zone. It's you need to grow from this, and it's almost uh, most times we got the North Node as retrograde because lessons need to be learned. Uh, so yeah, stability is the growth that he needs, that the Undertaker needs, and at work he got that. Marriage he seems to have gotten that. Temper wise, I am not sure. Probably he did too. So I guess he succeeded. Uh, the North Node in Taurus, uh, there's a tendency to be more grounded and to be self-reliant, and to be self-reliant relates to being able to provide for yourself, which can require a job most of the time, of course. Not necessarily a job, but at least some sort of. You can go off grid, of course, and build your own farm, have your own food, and you don't need the system for anything. But you're doing your own thing, and that's what's needed here in North Node in Taurus. Uh, don't be copy paste from others. Use what you got and do something with it. That's the key thing. And North Node in Taurus, it indicates lots of traumatic changes. Uh, Again, lack of stability, and that makes it even more important to find stability because you lacked it early in life. It lit a fire to go there. So it's from a tragic situation or situations, from bad situations. Probably tragic isn't the correct word, but it's from difficult situations that you then get fired up to move to where you wanna be, and that's the higher lesson here to be learned. And persistence, self-discipline, those are things that were needed. And one interesting thing is that the nodes, if you're not North Node in Taurus, implies that South Node is in Scorpio, and Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, the transformation planet. So it makes sense that the comfort zone of the soul is to have too many changes and transformation. Lots of, and it doesn't come easy. Just because it's painful, it doesn't mean it isn't your comfort zone. Many people mistake that thing. Just because you're comfortable, it basically means it's familiar. You know about it. You know what to expect. It doesn't necessarily mean it's good for you. It makes you feel good. It should technically comfort. Comfort. When you think about, at least when I think about comfort, you think about lying in a sofa, doing what you enjoy, but it isn't necessarily that. It's what you are used to, and transformation, lots of changes, dramatic changes, seems to be the Undertaker's comfort zone, and reflecting about the past and doing something about it. It's part of the learning process, and that's where you seek the clues to find the stability that is needed. So yeah, basically that's the big takeaway. Finding stability, healing the inner wounds, uh, the emotional side, letting go the anger, letting go of the tendency to jump, so to speak, from woman to woman, find a stable relationship, uh, find a stable job, and following the heart, which we already seen that the Undertaker is good at this. With that, if I recall correctly, Moon trine Mercury, yeah, being able to channel the emotions to express them. And so yeah, that's basically all I have to say for this birth chart reading. Very interesting one, and yeah, you can see the effects of that in the Undertaker's career, in his life, and it's very cool to see things unfold. So thank you for watching this video. Um, If you want, you can suggest more wrestlers for me to do birth chart reading on, as long as there's birthplace and birth time, no birthday. I can do something about it. Ideally, I would do birth time as well, but most people we don't know that about. So we work with what we got. So see you then. Have a good one. Bye bye.